He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Attention, citizens of fair Gotham. Welcome back once again to Bat Minute and Robin, the show that rockets through Joel Schumacher's incredible masterpiece film, Batman and Robin, 1 minute at a time. So not really rocketing then, but whatever. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
Pay attention to your co-host, John, for he's the harbinger of your doom. It's me, Niall McGowan.
Oh, I'm tempted to do the whole podcast in that voice, I'll be honest.
I appreciate Arnie just going for it now, because when you get dialogue like that, the harbingers of your doom, it's like, yeah, just go for it, dude. Just fucking go for it.
Oh, we're going to get to that. I have a lot to say. But we are joined once again by our very special guest from Monday, Allyson Cygan.
Hi there. Thanks for having me again.
Hey. And you get some of the most interesting bits because you're getting lots of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who everyone can agree
I was gonna say that was my note for this episode was, I'm so happy I have so much Arnold Schwarzenegger in this minute.
Even though we know he's a cheat, right, in his personal life, we can't hate him. He's just there's something about him. You can't dislike Arnie.
I kind of love this performance a lot because he just goes for it. And, I appreciate things where it's just like, I'm just going to throw myself into this, and I love it.
Yeah. That's why I don't think it's fair to criticize his performance. He was up for like a Razzie and things, which I have a problem with the Razzies in general. I'm not a fan of the concept.
Well, they often go for the easiest targets or like the most boring targets for bad movies.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I feel like a lot of the performances that people say are maligned are really the performers who know what kind of movie they're in and go for it.
Exactly.
You know?
Arnie is doing this deliberately. This isn't he's acting bad. It's like they know what they want. He knows what to do. This is the brief.
It would have been a much worse performance if he'd tried to play it completely straight. Mm-hmm. And so he's just I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna ham it up. Because, like, if he was trying to play it serious and then he did all those ice puns, it would just be horrible.
Which I could see him doing. Maybe that was his suggestion. Like, can I do this? Like a very, very serious role, my Oscar-winning performance. No, Arnie, no, don't do it.
Well, that's actually something we'll get into as part of my notes. Actually, because the casting of Arnie, in many ways, for Mr. Freeze it kind of makes sense because it's like, well, he's known for playing an emotionless robot as his key character. And so, like, Mr. Freeze is supposed to be this whole thing is that his heart is dead. He's cold inside. The entire characterization of Mr. Freeze for the past 30 odd years is like, yes, cold clinical man with one bright ember in his life that's keeping him going. I don't know if it's just Joel Schumacher doesn't know how to rein actors in when they go like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. Like Tommy Lee Jones showed up and was like, this is my version of Two-Face. And Joel's like, okay. And, Val Kilmer is like, yes, I'm playing Batman as a man who's dead inside. And he's just very unemotive. And like, instead of being a kind of charming, debonair billionaire, Bruce Wayne is just the most boring man alive. And Joel was like, okay. And like, he's probably cast Arnold Schwarzenegger hoping he'll play him like a cold, emotionless kind of guy. And he's like, no, I'm going for big. And he's like, all right, Arnie, no problem.
You don't argue with Arnold. Come on.
No.
Actually, I haven't introduced the minute. This is minute 11. People, 11, which you've probably seen in the notes, so I don't really need to state it. But we've been doing it for years and years now, so here we are. And the minute starts with the continuation of North Korea's missile test, and it ends with a hearty ha!
I do. I love a good guffaw or an indignant snort at someone suggesting you're mad.
Well, yeah, as I alluded to there, the rocket is continuing to be unleashed, flying into the sky with Batman aboard and Robin clinging to the outside. And Bats tries to stop it, but takes a swift boot to the face.
Again, as we talked about last minute, though, Batman's all about the grappling hooks. He's trying to very slowly inch his way up here. And it's like, dude, just get out the grappling hook. Like, just grapple your way up there and swing in and grab this guy. But he's like, no, he's gonna cling. And for some reason, the gravity of the situation and the gravity literally within the ship is affecting Batman, but not Mr. Freeze for some reason. He's totally like, oh, no, it's as if I'm standing in a nice, beautiful meadow.
Well, he weighs about 500 pounds or something.
I don't know. You think maybe if just slightly uneven on his feet or something, but it's just like, no, he is glued to the floor.
He's magnetized. There you go, magnets again.
Yeah, always with the magnets.
And I like what he does to Batman to stop him. He freezes him, but not entirely. He freezes his hands, which, like, why doesn't he just freeze him? He could kill Batman right now. I know that's always the case in like James Bond, but come on.
He very specifically completely freezes a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But here it is so controlled where he has like little holes for his thumbs. Like
And there's absolutely no need. You could kill him now. He'd be done.
Do it. Kill him. Kill him now.
And again, I know movies always do that, like a really contrived way the hero survives. But this is too much. This is absurd.
It is. Like, I don't know if it's like the hubris of like, I want Batman to know his death is coming, and I want to be able to gloat in the fact and tell him my plan. And so, I'm not going to freeze him entirely, even though that's 1,000,000% what I should do is completely freeze the guy right now.
And and a thing that I have done and will continue to do, like. It is that's kind of my MO, except for Batman, I'm going to just give him very specific things to just freeze his hands
with a thumb
and nothing else.
And that's the one person he probably should be freezing.
Oh,
and, like
considering if as we talked about in the last minute, this whole ordeal is him getting rid of Batman early on so that he can, do his other villainy. Then why kind of gloat when his whole goal is like, okay, I'm gonna get Batman out of the way so that I can go do crimes, and he's just like, I don't know.
There'd be nobody to stop him. And also, like, the thing you were saying, Niall, would make sense if these two had a past, but they've just met. If they had a past, like, you don't even have to see the past. You can just be like, oh, he's trying to take down Freeze again. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Because then it's like, well, yeah, I must make Batman suffer, Instead, it's like, hello, person I've never met, but I have heard of. I'm not going to kill you.
He just wants to be the gloating guy who
but
gets
why?
to...
There's no connection between them.
I don't know, criminal cred, maybe, because I'm the guy who took on Batman, and I wanted him to know that I was that I was the one who killed him and stuff.
With fake-looking eyes.
Yeah, or it could be they wanted to get a nice, good, emphatic framed shot of the bat nipples, just in case they've been around since the last movie, but they're just like, no, in case people missed them, because no one cared when they're in Batman Forever.
Oh, hang on, that's a good point, Alison. Do you know about the... I dare say controversy about the nipples.
I mean, I know that there was a lot of to-do about bat nipples, but I didn't know that they were in Forever. I thought it was just a Batman and Robin thing.
Yeah, it's one of those weird kind of, I don't know if it's a bit like a Mandela effect or something, but like, no one cared when the nipples were in Batman Forever.
Because everybody's like, oh, the reason that Batman and Robin is terrible, it's the bat nipples.
Yeah.
But it's like...
It's an
blowing my mind here.
It's a weird design choice, but especially in this movie, they did in the last one, but even more in this, their sort of design aesthetic was to make him look more like a Greek statue.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they've got their nips out.
Yeah. Although I should also say, people complain about Batman having nipples. You just look at that Mr. Freeze suit and look at his pectorals. He's got nipples too. Like,
I know, but they should be big icicles coming out of the suit.
But that's the thing. Is like so many people just gloss over that. It's like, oh no, Mr. Freeze had like lug nut nipples, and they're just like, I guess it was the rest of the costume was too busy for everyone to be like, what the hell? But
Yeah,
like,
there's a lot going on.
To be fair, I don't know if I even noticed that he had those nipples, and I was watching this movie pretty close.
Yeah, no, if you look up Arnold Mr. Freeze suit and just look at his pecs, it's like, no, he's totally got nipples there. And like, I wish they kind of gone for The Dark Knight Returns. You have that leader of the mutants, and his nipples are like literally like spikes popping out of his goddamn chest. But yeah, I don't know if Schumacher's like, I'll get everyone. Everyone gets nipples, friggin'. Batgirl does have subtle nipples on her suit, too. Get them for everyone. Alfred had this, like, nipples attached to his jacket for God knows what reason.
Yeah, so I mentioned before, and I'm going to have to bring it up again, right? The ice he's frozen with, yet again, it doesn't look like ice.
No.
It looks so fake. Everything in this movie... And I'm the one who likes this movie. Remember this, listeners. Everything in this movie looks weird.
Yeah, it looks like it's glowing. Yeah. Like ice doesn't just glow. Like it's, unless you work it in that it's not exactly normal ice. Just say like, no, it's a special kind of extra hard ice.
That's the only thing I could think of. I think I might have brought it up last week. It's like, well, we don't know what the chemical is. It's not necessarily, it just freezes water, this gun.
Yeah. But I'm just, though, it's just Joel Schumacher. It's like, I just want it to pop, So he's got little plastic. It's fine because it doesn't really even look like his hands are stuck. It looks as if George Clooney's just slipped his hands in through them.
Because he has.
It 100% does.
Yeah.
With the whole little like thumb hole, like. It's like, oop, these are my little ice gloves.
Yeah, if anything, that makes it even more ridiculous. Like, why is that hole there for the thumb?
But yeah, then of course, though, now the Batman's nice and secure in his ice cuffs.
It's a bit kinky, actually.
But Freeze does deliver one of my favorite lines of the whole movie. Like, pay attention to the numbers, Batman, for they're the harbingers of your doom.
Well, I think, right, it's a great line on the page. And I love Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I don't think he delivers it too well. I think the line needs more love in the delivery. It needs more room to breathe.
Oh, I think it's perfect the way he does it.
See, I think it needs to be more like, for they are the harbingers of your doom. Whereas he does a Clooney mumble. He's like, the harbingers of your doom.
No. The thing is, this comes now, though, to kind of the problem with the characterization of Freeze within the movie and stuff. Because I love Arnie in this movie because he is just like, yep, he's just going for it. But at the same time, it's like, well, if you want to do Mr. Freeze, and the Mr. Freeze they're basing this on is all the recent, very popular rendition of the animated series. Where he was a man who was supposed to be dead inside, and he was, a cold, calculating villain and whatnot. And they have a lot of that. It's built into his backstory, but it ain't apparent with the way Arnie's playing him. But in the novelization, they write him to be like much. You can imagine the Michael Ansara Mr. Freeze delivering these lines because he's got things like. If I were you, I'd watch the numbers. They are the harbingers of your doom. And they add in a lot more dialogue of like, can you feel it coming? The embrace of the void, the icy cold of space, to freeze to death. What blissful agony. At 10,000 feet, a small quiver, a tiny quake. The body resists, thus far unaware that its fate is sealed.
Oh.
But they keep saying like, his voice clinical as a scalpel. His eyes glazed with intellectual curiosity. So you're kind of getting like, oh, I recognize that Mr. Freeze. And like and he goes on with like that. It's like the whole next page is him freaking going like, oh yes, the void of space. Like it's a bit kind of like, Jesus, dude, calm down.
You've brought this up already.
You need to chill out a little bit. Chill out.
That was deliberate, right?
No, I wish it was deliberate.
Just say yes. It's like, yes, of
okay,
course.
Sure. Yeah, I totally thought of that. Absolutely.
But yeah, the fact though that Arnie is like, well, he's going campy with it. So it's at cross purposes for me as within his characterization then to have him be so emotive. Because he is, like, the whole time, he says things like, oh, my condition has left me cold to your pleas of mercy. And all this guy, he seems like he's, pheromone dust, it doesn't work on the cold-hearted. Because is indicating that he's supposed to be dead inside. But he is relishing every moment of villainy.
The character is. That's the thing, yeah.
Yeah, and he's going in for like, the icy cold of space. It's like,
Oh, that was very Ed Wood. You know, where what is it? He's like home. I have no home. Hunted, despised. What's the next bit? He's like
driven
living
like an animal. Pull the string.
Pull the string. That was my text tone for about 10 years, when people actually had their phones off silent.
I think I've seen someone like someone from the younger generation comment on that. It's like people used to have like annoying sounds for when their phone went off.
Yeah.
Why would you want that?
And someone I work with still does. He has a quote from Dune. Every time he gets a message, it goes, "The Bene Gesserit witch must leave." So, okay.
But that's the thing though. Like Mr. Freeze said, he goes on about like, oh yes, the icy cold of space. And he does this little motion with his hands. I don't quite understand because it's like he's doing a crab impression. Like, what are you going for there? What's that?
Yeah, what could the connect? Right, I'm gonna try and explain it. I'm gonna try. Right. Okay. So, I think it's with cool temperatures. You can stun a crab. Right, and I know this because, you know, Japan's obsession with vending machines, which some people exaggerate, to be honest, but they do have a lot of vending machines, and there have been some in the past where you could buy a live crab, but they would keep the crab sort of in a coma by keeping it at a certain temperature. So maybe he's implying you're going to slip under. You're going to fall into a coma because of the icy cold of space.
Going to, if we can tweet Arnie with that question. I was like, is that why you're doing the crab?
That's exactly what I was doing.
Is this specifically what you were thinking of here?
Oh, somebody finally got it.
That'd be like Arnie's commentary for, because, you know, if anyone's ever heard Arnold Schwarzenegger's commentaries for his own movies, he's just pointing out what he's doing on screen. He's like, in this scene, I am pretending to be a woman to get all but I'm not, it's actually me in disguise.
That is the best one.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Total Recall is so good, because there's the bit in Total Recall where he has a hologram to trick people, and he's just describing it. He's like, oh, here, they think it is me, but it is not. That's a hologram. And then I come around the corner and I shoot them. And it's like, yeah, I can see that.
That's what the movie is, yeah.
It's just like, if you imagine, like, oh, this scene of Predator, I'm sitting there and there's a chopper nearby and I'm telling them to go, get to the chopper. It's like, oh, no!
We're here for behind the scenes stuff, Arnold, come on.
But it'd be great though if in this scene he's like, now I'm standing doing a crab motion in reference to the Japanese vending machines wherein they would keep a crab in a comatose state due to the cold temperature.
Let me defend the nation of Japan as well. These were not a commonplace thing. Let me just say, because when you mention this to people, the weird vending machines of Japan, they assume they're everywhere, like schoolgirl underwear in vending machine. It's like, no, it might have happened.
It's like, no, this is like a very, not, this is weird for them too.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing, like a lot of stuff like this where it's like, where people talk about like Japanese commercials, like, oh, they're so weird. It's like, yeah, they think they're weird too. Like, they're not like, oh yeah, this is perfectly normal.
We get the weird ones. We don't get the boring normal ones. That's the thing. Nobody makes a compilation on YouTube of the boring Japanese commercials.
We'll be getting to Arnold Schwarzenegger, no stranger to crazy Japanese adverts either.
Oh, yeah, most celebrities. Tommy Lee Jones has done some. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we talked about it last season.
Hey,
yeah.
I mean, I would do it if it get paid. No shame in that.
Yeah. Well, and Japan are willing to pay a lot of money for a celebrity to come and do 10 ads, but they're all, like 10 seconds long. So you're there for an afternoon, you get a holiday, you get loads of cash.
Well, there is honestly no downside.
No, exactly. And Japan's awesome, so why would you not do it? And in fact, isn't that basically what he's doing in the movie, Bill Murray?
Lost in Translation.
Lost in Translation,
yeah.
Yep.
Like he doesn't he doesn't like the ad, but he's like, well, I'm getting loads of money and I get this whiskey, so I'm screwed.
But I was in thinking about why Mr. Freeze is doing this hand motion as like he's kind of nipping. It's a nipping motion. Is he saying it's going to be nippy in space? Is that what he's doing?
Do they only say that over here though? Is that an American thing? Do you say that when it's cold?
People, it's. I don't think it's very common, but people say it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's nippy out.
Maybe he's thinking too because he can see the bat nipples.
He can
he's
see
like,
the
oh yes, it's nippy. Yes. Yeah. So I'm assuming that's what the term nippy. Oh, it could be like because the cold's nipping at you.
Oh
But
no, I thought it was
well,
because your nipples go hard.
Yeah, could be a bit of both. Could be best of both worlds.
Oh, now my whole life's a lie, Niall. Now I'm questioning everything I've ever believed.
This is Jaws spends the rest of his night just staring out the window, just like, watching the sunrise. It was all a lie.
It was all a lie.
But of course, though, Freeze goes on in his taunting of the Dark Knight here, and talks about 30,000 feet, your heart will freeze and beat no more. Again, just relishing every word he's getting to say there. But
the best line to me is, "Can you feel it coming? The icy cold of space."
It's really striking me like this Mr. Freeze ain't so much like, oh, I've become really enamored with cold things since my accident. It kind of strikes me like, oh, I'm just obsessed with the cold in general.
This is a coincidence.
It's like, yeah, it's like the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, no, this is, the worst thing that could have happened is if there's some accident and it made me, have heat powers.
Oh.
It's like, no, I'd hate that. This is the best of both worlds, man.
That'd be hilarious.
This is like it'll turn out the twist is that like, oh, Nora Freeze doesn't have McGregor syndrome. She's just like pretending to be asleep so she doesn't have to listen to him talking about the cold so much.
Hey, we've all done
every
that.
day. Like, oh, honey, did I tell you about this cold thing I found?
We've all done that, right? When you can't be bothered talking to someone. It's like,
But she's just taking it to the next level where she's like, put
She's
herself
like,
in a back to
listen.
tank of just like, okay.
usually it's me trying to talk about Star Wars or something. It's like, no, you don't understand. When that Ewok dies in Return of the Jedi. Oh, shut up. But as well, I love that he said, can you feel it coming? The icy cold of space. Are we going to see Batman in space? Is it a Batman in space movie? Red alert, people. It's or blue alert. No, we're not going to see it. Sadly, my dream taking Batman into the stars has not happened.
I noted though in the IMDb goofs section, they go, of course, your heart would not freeze at 30,000 feet, as many people have been higher than that altitude with no ill effects. And I was kind of like, the goofs section of IMDb I always found to be very snooty.
Yeah, and I don't trust it either.
Yeah, there was a very like, well, of course this couldn't happen. But at the same time, I was thinking like, well, is that... Because I think they're going like, well, people obviously gone to space.
Mm-hmm.
But like, this is, Mr. Freeze is going to leave a door lying wide open. Like, people go to space in like insulated, things designed to cope with the temperatures and stuff. Maybe he's saying at 30,000 feet with like the elements going at you, yeah, your heart will freeze because you'll become so goddamn cold and stuff. I then found that apparently Mount Everest is 29.29 thousand feet.
Oh, yeah, but getting there isn't easy. Like, I don't mean the physical time. I do mean the physical. I don't mean the actual climbing. I mean what it does to your body. Like, you need oxygen and stuff. You can't just climb up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The oxygen aspect of it all.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. People obviously have climbed up there without their hearts freezing. But,
Yeah, true.
You do need to be like built
Yeah.
like Brian Blessed to get up there. Although Brian Blessed just he could climb into the sun and survive. Like death will not ever come for that man. He's just too defiant, really. I think.
I think that people climbing Everest who don't get enough credit, right? The Sherpas. Like these guys,
yeah.
They're going up and down all the time. Why are they not getting credit for climbing Everest? Not some
Well,
rich
especially
white guy.
since Everest is getting to the point where it's just like anybody can really get there. I mean, not anybody, but like, if you're a rich enough white person who's like, I have enough money for people to carry all my stuff, and
it's not like the old days where there's a lot of corpses on Everest because people were doing it on their own.
oh yeah, and they use them as guideposts too.
Yeah, I read that actually. Yeah, like you just you go so many thousand feet up to the guy in the orange coat, and then
Because listen, we're not going to be able to get him off, so might as well just that's a very convenient signpost for climbing Everest.
That's what they would have
I
wanted.
really hope though at least one Sherpa is like a Batman and Robin fan. And if anyone's ever asking, like, so what happens when you get to the top? And he's like, well, it's 29,000 feet. At 30,000 feet, your heart will freeze.
Well, that's a good point, Niall. You said, oh, nobody's frozen climbing Everest. It's like, yeah, because there's an extra 1,000 feet. But no, I actually didn't think... I'm normally the person who researches this weird crap like that. I did not think to look that up. How high would you have to go? Because I know you can survive in space. You can survive out in proper outer space for a while. You don't die instantly.
Well, I tried looking it up, but it was phrasing it for Google was quite difficult because it kept going on about like, well, you know, how high do you need to go in order to freeze? And it kept talking about the freezing point of like just water and stuff.
No,
it's like,
humans.
It's like, no. It's like we're looking about hearts here specifically.
Yep, the real stuff, the important stuff.
It should really be in the Batman and Robin FAQ. Just like, what? Well, how many feet does your heart freeze at?
So we'll make a Bat-Minute wiki when we find out.
But it's I did think it was odd though that Arnie talking about the hearts freezing, because this is around the time that Arnie's very highly publicized heart problems were occurring.
Oh, is it? I thought it was later. Oh God.
No, it was a lifelong thing.
Well, we know what caused it.
Careful what you say, John, because apparently he has successfully sued people for alluding to steroid use leading to his heart problems.
Yeah, but right, come on. Steroids cause heart problems, and in his autobiography, he explicitly says multiple times how he just used to take them left and right because it was normal in the 70s and 80s. It wasn't seen as like, oh, you're taking this dangerous drug. It was just like, oh, here's a supplement. It was just handed out at the gym, like, here's a supplement to help you. Oh, cool. Yeah.
No, but apparently he did, the mid-90s, he did sue someone, like some doctor published an article saying that, like, because of steroid use and, all the over-exercising of the heart. And Arnie got, like, 10 grand out of him for libel, just saying, like, you didn't examine me personally.
Well,
so
that's true. I'll defend him on that,
Yeah. And then apparently also in 1999 sued Globe magazine, settled out of court for they alluded to a similar kind of thing. But apparently Arnie's had like lifelong heart problems. He was born with some sort of aortic valve issue.
Oh, he might mention that in the book, and I just don't remember. It's been years since I read it.
Oh, apparently it's a hereditary condition. Like his mum had it, and so Arnie got it as well. It's some kind of condition where it causes it pumps more blood faster than it should do, basically.
Oh, maybe that actually helped him in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It could have done. So it's aortic stenosis, apparently, is what it's called. It causes faster pumping, and it means that he has 2 leaflets in his aortic valve instead of 3. But yeah, and really weird timing, he made this movie, then had the open heart surgery to get this thing fixed, and then went out in the promotional tour for Batman and Robin. Whoa. So it's like it's right on the money when he gets it. It was considered a very risky procedure at the time because they told him, like, well, if we normally do this to people, we put in like an artificial metal valve, but it'll mean you'll have to be on a blood thinner for the rest of your life, and you won't really be able to exercise as strenuously. And Arnie was like, no, I'm not doing that.
He's like, I'm not doing that.
Well,
yeah, so he got they used his actual tissue to build like a new valve.
Well, he's got the money to pay for that, hasn't he?
Yeah, and then it was just like, in 2018 he had to get a replacement for that replacement. So it's just one of the things. It's like, well, you can keep doing that, but like it's only going to get you so far. Really,
it's definitely. And I don't mean this as a diss, because I mean he looks great still, but it's definitely affected his ability to work out still.
Although it's that kind of thing, though, they keep replacing parts of this heart. It's like, you've heard of the ship of Theseus? Have you heard of the heart of Schwarzenegger? Like, they keep replacing bits of his heart. Is it still Arnold Schwarzenegger's heart?
It doesn't matter.
But it's around that same time, though, as well. That's in the summer of '96 when he was filming this. Was also when he had that affair and had that kid, like illicitly. So I was like, busy time for Arnold Schwarzenegger.
This is a weird time for Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, this is like, at his height, he just was like, oh, I'm making Mr. Freeze. I'm having heart surgery. I'm having affairs and illicit children. It's a busy time for Arnold.
A couple of days ago, actually, no, literally yesterday, as of recording, I saw an article where it was his kid Patrick. Is it?
Oh yeah.
And who's the other kid he had with the maid? Well, it was like, Patrick and so put their differences aside to, hang out. It's like, Well, why have they wouldn't have beef with each other. They're not putting differences aside. What are you talking about, stupid headline?
He's an actor now, Patrick Schwarzenegger. And it's one of those ones where it's like when he shows up, it's like that's Arnie's kid.
Oh, he looks like him, doesn't he? A bit, yeah.
Yeah, he's in a really good movie actually called Daniel Isn't Real.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like a sinister version of Drop Dead Fred, where this kid's like he has a childhood imaginary friend that's actually part of like a split personality, and he represses it for many years, and in his adult life, the imaginary friend comes back and wreaks havoc, but in a, exactly like Drop Dead Fred, really, but it's in a much more sinister, full-blood, and it turns out it's a bit more supernatural and stuff. But Patrick Schwarzenegger is like the suave, kind of Tyler Durden-esque other personality of this main guy, and he's actually very good. But when you see the face, you're like, yeah, it's Arnie. It's the man's face plastered on some little skinny kid's body. It's very weird.
Oh yeah, that must be odd. He's probably not even skinny. It's just compared to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh yeah,
right.
It's a bit like when again, bringing up wrestling, but whenever I've been to see it live, like when you see the smaller, like the cruiserweights on TV, you're like, oh, they're the small guys, they're the little wrestlers. But you see them in person when you're there, and it's like, holy crap, they're huge. It's like, yeah, they're only small in comparison to like
you just have those comparisons there.
Next to a normal human being like me, dare I say I'm normal, they look like giants.
A frequent thing we bring up, Allison, throughout the show, way back in not back in 1989, back when we were recording Batman in 89, I hit upon the realization that I had grown up thinking that Jack Nicholson was regarded as a very sexy man to the world, that everyone thought like, oh yeah, Jack Nicholson is like the personification of sex.
Niall's crazy.
Found out that season, like, no, apparently that is not the case at all. And then, very much like in Batman Forever, I always just thought that Chris O'Donnell was like the blandest human alive. Found out that apparently people were crazy for him.
He's 90s sexy.
He is extremely like watching this movie. I was like, there are certain points where you're like, yeah, he is very 90s attractive in a way where it's like where they're pushing him as like extremely 90s. Did you just Niall, did you just watch The Witches of Eastwick really early on? Because like that's like the whole thrust of that movie is that he is like everybody is in love with Jack Nicholson.
Well, I'm not seeing it in a while, but I just kind of thought that was his persona, like his public persona. Like, oh yeah, sexy.
Like he's dirty. He's a bit sleazy, but no, people don't go, whoa, Jack Nicholson.
Allison, have you ever found Jack Nicholson attractive? Have you ever been like, oh yeah? I'm talking like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest era. Like,
I don't know if I necessarily would say so, but I mean, he has a charisma to him, right? And I feel like, there's a charisma about him that makes that is attractive. And that's not, I don't know if I necessarily would like say he's like traditionally attractive in any way, but like he's, he has there's a movie star pull to him, right? Where it's like you watch him in movies and you're like, yeah, you're very watchable. And I think that's, that could be considered an attractiveness.
Yeah, I get that. It's a personality thing. There's like a vibe, there's an energy off him. Whereas Chris O'Donnell is the opposite. Like he hasn't really. I don't want to diss him too much.
He doesn't have an energy.
No, he's just pretty, and it's like, oh, girls like him and boys like him. Great, it sells.
That's the thing, though. Coming to this movie, and it's like, well, I think everyone would be on like, oh, Clooney, obviously, like he's a very traditionally attractive, charming fella, but Arnie. I'm like, nah. People couldn't I don't know. Did anyone find Arnold Schwarzenegger sexy? Like he's impressive. His physique is impressive, and he is a very charming man. But I can't imagine anyone ever been like, oh yeah, like he really warms my butt.
Well, that's kind of the whole thing with a lot of especially people who are critiquing when people are talking about male gaze and female gaze or whatever, and they're like very specifically like, oh, this movie shows off this guy's muscles, this is for the women, where it's like that's not how it works. Like that's a very like male power fantasy, whereas that's not necessarily like seen as being sexy. It's just oh, look at how powerful and big he is, but that's not necessarily...
That's usually for the men.
Considered, like, yeah.
And also, like, I don't know, I suppose now if you're into that physique, if that's your thing, then it's sort of inherently a little bit, I don't want to be insulting, it's a bit fetishistic, which is fine. So, you know, he's got the best physique in that type.
Yeah.
So you would fetishize that. You wouldn't care about anything else about him, would you?
So no, like, again, in Pumping Iron, like, there's bits of him, like, kind of sleazing with Lou Ferrigno's sister, and it kind of seems like, oh yeah, Arnie has a way with women and stuff. But
he's
I don't
charismatic.
know. He is charismatic, but I think almost like his like monstrous size would almost like be detrimental.
Yeah,
to
but
the
people into that are going to be like wild for that, aren't they?
That's just how often does it come up though, where someone wants someone who's that huge? Like,
there's probably a circuit of them. There's probably like I don't know, like muscle man chasers or something.
Yeah, I don't know. So, Allyson, we'll put you down. Jack Nicholson in the middle, Chris O'Donnell. Yeah, I guess put it up on the board.
I mean, Chris O'Donnell, he's fine, but kind of like a black hole of charisma.
He's a hit it and quit it.
He's traditionally attractive, but I'm like kind of like oh yeah, he was in that movie.
You'd have nothing to say to him after the fact. It's like, okay, off you go, Chris.
Yeah. And so if Arnie comes to you and he goes, come with me if you want to live, and come as in go with him, not in come as in the other way, would you be like, oh yes, of course, Mrs. Schwarzenegger, or would you be like, I'm okay?
This is getting very specifically like, what is Allyson interested in?
No, honestly, we do ask this of everybody.
This is a very common question here on this show. We need to determine what people.
I can't say that's not necessarily my type with the giant, like, extreme physique of someone like Schwarzenegger. It's not my thing.
I think Joel Schumacher, though, he does cater to sort of a lot of tastes. I was going to say all tastes, but so you've got Arnie, but you've got Clooney, but you've got Chris O'Donnell, and then you've got Uma Thurman.
Yeah. I will say, of all the people in this movie, I think, and I'm including Uma Thurman and Alicia Silverstone, I think Clooney would be the one to win me.
I'm an Uma Thurman person. Like,
but
and Uma Thurman is in this. She's a drag queen, so it ticks all the boxes. It's great.
But yes, Allyson, we're so confident in this show's ability that we can waste the listeners' time by rating the super hunks. This is the thing we frequently do.
We've got to rate the super hunks. It's the most important part of the show.
Of course. Oh yeah, no. That's very specific. It's just putting me on the spot of like, do you think Arnold Schwarzenegger is hot or not? I'm like, I can't say I've thought about that.
It's not a very common question, I'll be honest. In the normal world.
It's like, I'm not mad it was asked. I was just like, I was not expecting that right now.
I think that's the thing though, because he, at this point, at one point, this guy was like the biggest star in the world. Mm-hmm. So the fact that it's like to everyone probably now is just like, been asked that on the spot, it's kind of like, I haven't really even thought about it. Like,
I don't know. Yeah,
if you say like, Patrick Swayze, people are like, of course he's sexy. Or Chris Hemsworth, you'd be like, yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. But like Arnold's just like, is he sexy? I don't know. I never really thought about it.
I haven't really. It hasn't really popped up in my head at all. Yeah,
like, he's not like off-putting. He's not hideous.
No, of course not.
Like, I imagine being held in Arnie's arms. I think I'd just be scared more than anything. I'd be like worried that he's going to pop my head off by mistake.
You've seen how he caresses that deer at the start of Commando. Come on.
That deer was dinner later that night, John.
No.
He was just like letting Jenny know, get to know this deer because it won't be here tomorrow.
These days, isn't he? Is he a vegetarian, or he eats a lot of vegetarian food now? Because he's trying to be very health conscious and environmental and things.
I think, again, probably to do with his heart as well, too. I think after that second operation, he was on a walker for a while, and he had to, they say he had up to 5 breathing exercises a day to get his lungs back to normal. So he's not in ideal health at the minute.
But he still looks great compared to a lot of people his age. Like, physically, he looks, I'm not saying internally he's great, but...
Oh, of course, like, a guy who pushed his body that hard. And in fact, he's in his like mid-70s now. I was like, yeah, I mean, he looks good.
Yeah, I mean, like... it's like he pushed his body so hard that it's not healthy in any way anymore. Like you do that level of bodybuilding where, I mean, not even just the alleged steroid use, so I don't get sued. But like that level of bodybuilding is not necessarily, it goes beyond being healthy, but it's like, he's doing relatively fine for being 70s and has health problems and.
Well, and you're right. Like the show weight again that they, when they're about to do a bodybuilding competition, that isn't healthy, and they know it's not healthy, and they say it's not healthy. They cut everything. Like they try and reduce everything, but the essential things they need, and you can't maintain it, and they don't maintain it.
You see that with superhero actors now when they do like photo shoots and things, where they are very specifically dehydrating themselves so that their muscles bulge out more and that they have some veins popping out. And it's like, that's not good for you. Like, just FYI, drink water, please. It's not good to dehydrate yourself for this photo shoot, but...
Batman says, freeze, you're mad. And I love his very witty, incredible, great comeback. Ha!
And it's getting back to that thing of like last week he was saying like, "Oh, kill the heroes." So it's just like admitting he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I'm the bad. They're the heroes. Kill them." And then to be accused of being mad, he's like, "That's it."
Well, maybe in his eyes, like being a villain isn't mad; it's sensible. You should be evil.
He's like, yes, I am a villain, but to call me mad is too far.
Yeah, you can call me evil. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. But I enjoy a good guffaw.
Especially in that accent.
But yeah, this does lead into another little avenue, but we can talk about that next time. Unless anyone here has more notes specific to this minute they want to get into, or
no, I'm noted out. So we will move on now. We'll head into the dark night. So join us again on Friday, listeners, for more Bat, Minute, and Robin.
Next time.
Time to abandon ship.
Bruce is abandoned to become a bloody bat slush puppy in a plummeting projectile aimed right for the city. But as the Sultan of Sleet flees on wings that are on fleek, can Robin break his buddy's bonds without a beak? There's more dated slang next episode, Batmeisters. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute. We'll be back.